ANC Ekurhuleni Regional Executive will today visit the family of the late Transport MMC Andile Mngwevu. Mngwevu lost his life in the Chókwè region in Mozambique when floods swept away a vehicle he was traveling in. Officials will also pay respects to the families of the other victims who were in the car with Mngwevu. Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala is in Gqavu near Springs and joins us now live. A very good morning to you, Nqobile. So we know that the MMC was confirmed, his remains were confirmed just about a week ago. Do we know if those repatriation processes have begun now that some of these officials are coming to pay their last respects to the family?
Well, Chókwè, we know that the officials did say that they were going to assist with regards to that repatriation process. But in terms of the updates, we are going to get that from the ANC Regional Secretary who's joining us currently. But it's very important to also note that the MMC in the structures of the ANC had done quite well for himself, starting from the COSAS, going up into the region. And also he was part of REC. So we want to speak now to the REC Regional Secretary to give us more details, especially with regards to whether or not his remains, as well as the others that you are going to be visiting, have arrived in the country.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity. We can officially confirm that the remains of all of them, Comrade Andile, Ntokozo, Sfiso, came yesterday night. And this morning, the families and their respective funeral parlors were actually allowed to then take the body. So the bodies, they have been released for all of them. So we can confirm that the bodies have been released.
And I can't imagine this chapter has been easy for the families to have to receive the remains, like what you say. What has been the process and how are they feeling at this point?
Yeah, it has been a very difficult phase, not only for the family, but for all of us who work with Comrade Andile very close. As you can imagine, as the days went by, anxiety cropped in, uncertainties of whether or not we'll find the bodies. And I can say that we are still in a state of shock, disbelief. Safe to say that I think what should comfort all of us is that we now have the remains of all of them, and this allows for another phase for the families to then prepare and ensure that they receive a befitting farewell, all of them.
And let's talk about that farewell, knowing that he had been in these structures as part of ANC, but also as the MMC, meaning he's part of the Metro. Can we then expect that you will be pushing for an official funeral?
Most definitely. He was a public servant, a PR, and generally what we know council does, it declares a civic funeral. So I am certain that he will be accorded that civic funeral. But the African National Congress wishes also to indicate that where possible and within our limited means, working with other interested parties, we should be in a position to appreciate the situation of other families and ascertain if their final resting type of a program will also be befitting, so that it's not only about our own, but we have made sure that we provide equal and fair support to all of them, and that is why all the bodies were brought to the country at the same time, and government was at the center of making sure that all families are assisted.
And when you talk about all family, little has been spoken about these families and the loss of their loved ones. Are you able to just give us an idea who were they?
Yeah, what we know, those are the friends that travel along with Comrade Andile. I think they went on their private traveling, so we regard them as friends, all of them. But in the process, we got to establish, who they are, Ntokozo, Sfiso, Stelo. So we now have a sense of who are they. And the Regional Executive Committee of the ANC is actually gathering today to visit all the families, who lost their loved ones. And it's part of continuous support to all of them, and not necessarily one of our own. But of course, we can't discard the fact that You know, Comrade Andile was a leader, a prominent individual within the society, a public representative, a community servant, who really contributed, you know, in the upliftment of many. So that on its own, assuming a leadership responsibility, it does give you a particular profile. But in all fairness, as I said, we will be visiting all the families today, establish, you know, the extent to which they're preparing for their final send-off, and as I said, where possible within our limited resource to provide support.
And just to talk about that leadership that Comrade Andile, as you explain, provided within the ANC and in the structures, are you able to just give us a background who he was?
Yeah, as I said at some point in time, you know, Andile joined the struggle, if I may put it that way, at the age of 15 years through COSAS. He led COSAS even national, and ordinarily he grew up until he joined the African National Congress Youth League, which is a closer preparatory school to the motherboard itself. So he served it at the Regional Executive Committee leadership, and ultimately he was elected into the leadership position of the REC of the ANC, where I am also the regional secretary. So he forms part of the collective, and I can safely say that he grew properly within the structures. And I indicated three things in my view that defined Comrade Andile, is that he was conscious at a tender age to appreciate the material condition and the need for individuals like him to participate in the struggle for a better life for all. Andile was also selfless in a sense that he dedicated, you know, a greater part of his time to serve communities through the African National Congress. And thirdly, I would have said, you know, Andile was a very brave leader and a comrade, where there was no mixture of black and white. It's either black or white. And he was able to express his views, in most cases in the best interest of the ANC and that which the African National Congress ought to do in servicing our communities.
And I remember you spoke about just how stern he was when he expressed his views.
Very much firm. Andile was short, but when he was expressing his views, you could tell that here is a brave comrade of the African National Congress. But the beauty about him as well, he was prepared to listen to other views. He would take some time to comprehend, and he will come back and say that, you know, I thought about what we were engaging about. I think I'm prepared to accede what you said, and let's see it through. So that is a type of a comrade that we associated ourselves with, and we are proud with.
Oh. Thank you very much for speaking to us. And of course, you can see just behind us more people coming in from the ANC, and you can see the secretary also joined by some of the ANC leadership. We are expecting that, of course, about 24 members of the REC are going to converge in this area, and that's when they're going to have a convoy to the various families. Katleho, we are hearing that they're also going to be visiting more than just Andile Mngwevu's family, also his people that he was with in the vehicle. We know that one of them had survived, and this is why they were able to go and show where the incident had taken place, and that's why we had the South African delegate, or rather the South African Search and Rescue that went to Mozambique to look for him, because at least there was one person that had survived. But of course, those families going through such a hard time, having lost someone that they loved and appreciate dearly.
Right. Nqobile Madlala bringing us the latest from Gqavu in